By the time House of Ashur reaches episode 5, the series has clearly settled into its rhythm, and this episode feels like a quiet but important turning point. Rather than relying on constant shock or spectacle, the episode leans into tension, character motivation, and the uncomfortable politics of power. This is an episode that asks the viewer to pay attention not only to what is said, but also to what is implied. Ashur continues to be the emotional and intellectual center of the show. Episode 5 confirms that his character is not motivated by power or honor, but by survival and ambition. What makes him charming here is how calm he appears, even when circumstances threaten to collapse. Every interaction seems calculated, as if he's always several steps ahead of those around him. One of the most effective elements of this episode is the way it depicts power as fragile. No one truly feels safe, and episode 5 highlights that positions of influence can change quickly depending on who has the information, alliances, and favor. The series manages to make these changes feel organic rather than forced, adding a sense of realism to the stylized world. The packing is much slower than previous episodes, which works to its advantage. Rather than overwhelming the viewer, this episode lingers on scenes and gives real weight to the dialogue. It feels like the characters are constantly testing themselves, exploring their weaknesses and opportunities, and this slower pace makes these moments all the more impactful. Visually, episode 5 maintains the familiar Spartacus aesthetic of bold lighting, dramatic framing, and heightened emotion, but here it's more refined. The visuals support the story rather than compete with it. There's a darker, heavier atmosphere throughout the episode, which suggests that the stakes are getting higher and the consequences are starting to take shape. The supporting characters have more important roles in this episode, but some characters still seem underdeveloped. Their interactions with Ashur serve to highlight his adaptability. He changes his approach depending on the opponent. This contrast clearly shows why Ashur survives in a world where so many others don't understand people or danger. Thematically, episode 5 relies heavily on moral compromise. Almost every character has to make a choice between what is right and what is necessary. This episode doesn't directly condemn these decisions, but that makes them all the more alarming. It reminds viewers that survival in this world often requires actions that slowly erode moral values. Another strength of this episode is the sense of anticipation. Nothing is going to explode anytime soon, but this episode is a reminder of a blown fuse. Small decisions, quiet betrayals, and subtle shifts in loyalty all hint at larger conflicts to come. It's the kind of episode that becomes more important in retrospect as the meaning of that moment becomes clearer. If he has a weakness, it's that he becomes emotionally isolated in certain scenes. Ashur is engaging, but the episode can sometimes take viewers away from the emotional aftermath of certain events. Further emotional connection to the outcome of these power plays could make future episodes even more powerful. But episode 5 succeeds because House of Ashur understands not just action, but also control, manipulation, and durability. He has great respect for his audience and builds up the tension slowly, believing that the payoff will come later. Overall, Season 1, Episode 5 stands out as one of the most thoughtful episodes of the season thus far. Not as flashy as viewers might expect from the name Spartacus, but more confident and focused. By prioritizing character and strategy over spectacle, this episode strengthens the foundation of the series and sets the stage for the conflict that is clearly on the horizon.